This is Friday night sermon for June 28th, the importance of Shabbat. So this week's portion of the Torah is Shalach Lecha, and it means take for yourself. Many remember this portion as the incident of the spies and the mandate from Hashem that all the Israelites over the age of 20 are doomed to die off in the desert. However, there are other situations and issues addressed here in this particular portion that are also important to our people. Toward the end of our portion, we are told of a man who was out in the wilderness gathering wood on Shabbat. People were outraged that he was desecrating the day of rest and went to Moses. Moses went to God, and the consequence for the guy was capital punishment. Now, this seems pretty severe, especially 3,300 years later as we look towards the Torah for guidance. It's almost incomprehensible that someone is punished this severely for just not resting. And if we want to do something on the Sabbath or on Shabbat, isn't that our business anyway? And just to clarify, there's more to this story than that. The individual in question was first warned. Two witnesses saw him doing it after the warning. And let's face it, he did it in front of the whole community. So under the surface, there was more to it than that. It was more about, there wasn't just about gathering wood. So nowadays it seems that a 7-day week is not enough, let alone 6. Not only do we have to spend 40 hours each week earning a livelihood, but then there's the commuting. Most of us also have chores and everyday tasks to do as well. On the weekends, many of us have kids or grandkids that we take to or watch their activities. We also have projects, so who has time to rest? Maybe if Hashem wanted us to rest a day, maybe our week should be 8 or 9 days. Then it would be a lot easier to take one day and do nothing. Or maybe we'd just be just as busy and we want 10 or 11 day week, right? How can he expect us to forego one day of week and let all the other stuff just pile up? And if we did take that day to rest, all we do is fret and worry about all the things we have to do that we didn't get done last week. Oh, and by the way, did we mention paying bills? We can get anxious just listening to all we have to do and then figuring out when to do it all. So what's the point? Well, that is the point. First of all, rest is not just important. It's critical and crucial to engaging in our daily activities. Everybody knows this because everyone has had days when they just didn't get enough sleep or had to do a lot over the weekend and then came back to the work week completely exhausted, hating life. We rationalize by saying that, look, it's either that or let things pile up and then it would be even worse. We would probably all agree that conceptually, having 1 day in 7 to kick back is a pretty good idea. If only. Well, in Judaism, having a day off is so important, it's one of the top 10. In fact, it's number 4. Even before not killing or stealing. Of course, the implication is not that if you get too tired, you're going to go out and commit crimes. The obvious point is that there's more to it than just resting. Now, the verses after this particular passage, which happens to be the Maftir, the last portion of this particular portion of the Torah, this Sedra, is the third paragraph of the Shema. This introduces us to the commandment of putting tzitzits on the corners of our clothes. The knots that we tie on those strings remind us to remember and do all the commandments. We know that the sequence of the Torah is not random. The verses are in their specific places and in a specific order for a reason. Consider that it is on purpose that the commandment to put tzitzits on our clothes follows the incident of somebody desecrating the Shabbat. It would seem that observing the Shabbat is specifically related to knowing and performing all the commandments. And that's exactly the point. Not only is the Shabbat a day off and a time out from mundane and material work, it is a day of spiritual refreshment. With all our attention directed out into the material world, it can be easy to forget the purpose of life. With all our efforts directed at managing life, sometimes we forget or we sidestep some of the ethics and morality. Being so busy, there is a temptation to take shortcuts. But it's not necessarily so simple. It's not as easy as when you're busy, you lose your integrity. The point is that it's sometimes easy to become so busy and focused on doing things in life that we forget what it's all about. We go to work to support our families, so life isn't so stressful, and we have time to impart important values to our offspring. The main reason we observe Shabbat is to remember what's important. While engaging in life is necessary and critical for our survival, we need to study our roots. We need to remind ourselves to do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with Hashem. And we do that, and life takes care of itself.